Hi, it's Friday. It's 3 o'clock. Welcome to Together Unlocked, brought to you as always by Together 2012. We're led by disabled artists based in the main London 2012 Paralympic host borough of Newham. I'm Jew Gosling, also known as Jew 90. I'm the artistic director of Together 2012. We're here in our studio in Canning Town with our chair, the artist Julie Newman. We're dressed up to go out to stay in for our regular Friday spot. So we're going to tell you all about that in a minute with some audio description. But first, the other end of our virtual sofa is in the West Midlands. So let's hear some introductions, some audio description, and tell us what you're dressed up to go out to stay in to do, and maybe a bit more about the spot.
Okay, well, good afternoon. Hi, I'm Robin Surgener. I am the business director at Together 2012. I'm also an artist in my own right, using the name Angry Fish. Uh, and yeah, we are based up here in Sutton Coldfield, all ready and dressed up to not go out on this occasion. Just for anyone who's new to the show, every Friday we follow an example started in New Zealand where people would dress up to go to the opera and then not go because of lockdown. Now we're not as formal as that, and I don't actually possess the correct clothes to go to the opera anyway. I don't think, but we've taken on the spirit. The idea is that you can dress up to do anything you want to do on a Friday night that you're not actually going to go and do. So I'll talk about me on that one from that point then. So just for a visual description, I have slightly damp silver white hair today, having, to be honest, luxuriated in a bath just a while ago. If that's too much information, I'm sorry. And I'm back wearing my no rimmed black armed glasses, having had to get them fixed on Wednesday, which was done extremely safely at Boots, and I must credit them on their system of getting you in and out and not having to touch or talk to anyone that wasn't appropriate to you. Um, so yes, I'm sparkling clean, and I am for those of you who can see me, those who can't, I'm wearing a probably an army green t-shirt, uh, which has got three faces of Billy Bragg, um, kind of spanning the crikey 30 plus years, I should imagine, of his career as an agent provocateur, his agent of provocation via his political music, and folk music, of which I'm a great fan, and so listen to on many occasions. And tonight I am going to be having a Billy Bragg listening session.
Done.
Yeah, sorry, I was.
Uh, I'll make mine slightly quick because we do finish at 4. I am Josh Surgeon. I'm one of the other hosts of Together TV, and I am a PhD research student in Sheffield, although I'm not currently in Sheffield, obviously. We don't have an owl sofa, it's just a nice straight sofa between Newham and Birmingham.
You're going to be quick.
Yeah, I know. I've got blonde hair, no glasses, and then today we were doing some tidying up earlier in the week, and I found my kind of Christmas Alf jumper with kind of gold buttons and an embroidered belt, which you can't see because it's just out of shot, and kind of fluffy cuffs um, that I thought I'd lost, but it was actually that Mum had just stolen it and hidden it in the wardrobe. And I decided, when is a good time to wear a Alf Christmas jumper? I thought middle of August. So I'm wearing it because I'm looking forward to Christmas, because I like Christmas and hopefully some snow.
Well, I have to say, we watched all the Christmas in July films, so a little bit late, maybe, by about 2 weeks. Those mums, they will put those clothes away in the wardrobe. What on earth would you expect to find them there, dear, dear, dear? So
Not
we're
my wardrobe, I should stress. A wardrobe. I couldn't
so
find it.
if you've quite finished, we're bringing you show today as part of our Join In From Home programme of inclusive, accessible arts activities, and also as part of our artistic programme showcasing disabled artists from East London, the UK, and from across the world. So I have a Corona crop, as we call it, when you've taken the dog's clippers to your hair in despair. I have black plastic framed glasses, black wrist braces, and silver jewellery. Behind us, we have our Together graffiti banner. You can just see a little bit of it. We produced that in a summer program a few years ago with a company called Graffiti Life. And it has images of all the different activities that we do through the year, from drama, street art, carnival art, photography, art, filmmaking, dance, and probably a whole bunch of other things that I cannot think of. My outfit, I have a purple t-shirt that says Mad Love on it, and you'll probably see more of that once we have taken off these huge white, I think, made from plastic. They're certainly fireproof lab coats. So we're in white coats that say expert in English and German on the pockets. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that when Julie has just introduced herself and, yes, given a little bit of audio description apart from the jacket.
Hi, I'm Julie. I have silver and gold hair, dark rimmed glasses. I have the camera's moving. I'm a bit dizzy. I have a lovely three aspect moon necklace. I have a white t-shirt, and I also am wearing one of these white overalls. I think they're only fireproof, due because you had them in your show and you sprayed them. But anyone who's known me for any length of time, old friends, 35 years plus, will recognize me because I used to wear one of these as my work outfit. I used to be a phlebotomist. I used to take blood in a hospital, in fact, a couple of hospitals in Brighton many, many years ago when my back started to go when I was nursing. I had to do something which was less physical and less difficult. So I was a blood taker and I enjoyed it very much. I met a lot of people. We had very, very busy clinics. And it was actually quite comfortable. And it's so funny putting it back on after all these years because it feels so familiar. I just need to put my pens in my pocket and get a spare syringe, and then I'll be sorted.
Well, in fact, I didn't fireproof these, but like you say, these are proper fireproof lab coats. They come from, I'll tell you a little bit about it. They come from a project that I did, oh, 12, 15 years ago called Men in White Coats. And it was a commission from the city of Graz in Austria. I can't remember. I think it was part of their Oktoberfest, but I can't remember all of the details. And then I took it as it was produced as a performance, and then I created it as an installation for my abnormal touring exhibition, which I think was about sort of 2008 to 2011. And it was very much about the idea that the power that we give white coats. So the idea was that part of the installation was just these white coats all hanging up, but with different names on them, like God and expert and judge. And yes, it was that whole sort of thing about the power, if you like. The reason these two have been hanging up in my studio when the rest of it is packed up down in my storage unit is just that they were hellish to iron on. And of course, that was ultimately how we made them. I created all of the printouts on the computer with iron on transfers and then had to iron them on. And it's rather difficult onto fireproof fabric. So these two tatty ones have been hanging on the door in the studio. And the reason we're wearing them is to advertise our new Spot app date. App date is going to be taking place around 3:15 every episode for the next month or so. And we'll tell you a bit more about it in 5 minutes. There you go. Before that, we had a lot of recommendations for things to do last Wednesday. Did anybody follow them up? Did you manage to see the Perseids, for example, Julie?
It's been very overcast in London over the last, certainly the last week, actually. I've seen the moon twice, but through cloud. So it's not been possible for me at all.
I've been really enjoying the things we started on Monday when we were talking about nature photography and all the things you could do without leaving the house, because certainly Julie and I haven't left the house since March, and you guys have just had a bare handful of sort of urgent appointments, haven't you? And yeah, it's been given. I've started taking more photographs around the house. I'm struggling with the concept of photographing the insects as opposed to getting rid of them, but I keep seeing all these things like bug hotels on the gardening programs and realize that we're now supposed to treasure our insects, but I'm not quite sure.
It's part of an ecosystem, Jew. We don't have to eat the insects, but other creatures do. So it sort of keeps them fit and healthy and fed, I think.
Yeah, I've had a sort of I've never heard of bug hotels, but I've kept piles of old wooden things in the corner of the garden for a long time. But I'm just not sure whether our kind of pursuit of all things natural without leaving our shielding base really extends to me spending hours watching for spiders. But I don't know. What have you been photographing this week?
We had huge thunderstorms Wednesday night, I think. But it was kind of used sheet lightning where we were, in terms of it not being Thorpe lightning, not me being rude. So it wasn't kind of the best for photographing. You just kind of got a very blown out picture, rather than kind of a single point.
Although one of our cats, Baby, has been posing for photos.
Yeah, she made a very loud meow earlier, so we thought we'd go and check to make sure she wasn't stuck. She wasn't. She was just kind of chilling out. And then as soon as I tried to take a photo because it was really cute, she then decided to kind of clamber forward and pose for the camera.
We'll have to put them together, won't we?
Yeah, which was quite cute.
I mean, Wednesday night, I had intended on trying to see the comets, and by the time I came out of training at 25 to 9, maybe 20 to 9, it was pitch black, and that's not because the sun had gone down. It was so other than lightning, honestly you couldn't see a thing, and where we were, there's no lighting around. So I've had to make a change for next week for the kids' safety, but because yeah, it was astonishing, literally how dark the sky had become. Yeah, so there was never any hope of seeing any stars.
We're kind of jealous because having melted away on the show on Monday and Wednesday, we melted all of yesterday. We had a couple of bangs of thunder on Wednesday night and a little bit of shower, but so far, I mean, I'm still getting emails and texts from other people saying, "Oh, isn't it lovely?" And I think you only live a mile away, but no, not in Canning Town. We are still waiting for the rain.
Even here, it's really localized. I mean, so before I went out on Wednesday, when I went to get my glasses fixed, got back in the car, started and it came down really quickly at that point. Picked Emily up to go to swimming, and no more than half a mile down the road from here, there hadn't been a drop of rain. So weird.
Yes, I mean, I think well, of course, there is always, and in fact, I remember a couple of summers ago, there'd been a terrible heat wave, and the art group went out into West Ham Park in Stratford and also over to Wanstead Flats, and we photographed the impact of the heat wave, including the grass fires on Wanstead Flats. So sometimes you can get a really good photo just out of the fact that it hasn't rained and everything's dry in the garden. Sometimes it's really interesting being able to just photograph the rain on the window and things through the window. But I think it's like you were saying before, one of you, about waiting. I think it was Josh talking about the film and the photos he'd done of the bee. You know, you can have the thunder forecast and you can sit there and wait, but if it's the wrong kind of lightning, it's just have another go. But at the same point, when we've been talking about photography on impulse or just responding on automatic, if you've got your camera or your phone ready, then you can always just pick it up if there's something out of the window that's happening.
Also, if I can come in here, I've been banging on about watching the Coral City camera. You can do screenshots on your iPad or your iPhone if you have such things. in your possession so that you can actually take a picture of something that catches your eye.
Yes, I'm not quite sure how it relates to nature photography, but in any case, it's time for update. So, for anybody who saw yesterday's news, and particularly if you didn't, the world beating Test and Trace NHS app is back on schedule and coming next week to our very own London Borough of Newham. The plan is that they go back to the Isle of Wight where they tested the original app. And as I understand it, the testing and the pilot went really well, but there were problems with the technology. So they'll be repeating that on the Isle of Wight, where I believe from all the news reports, residents really enjoyed taking part, didn't they? The feedback seemed really positive and the uptake was really high. It was unfortunately what they concluded from the test was that the technology just wasn't good enough and they would need to start again. And I understand it's something to do with Bluetooth, that Apple phones are designed to be really, really energy efficient. So if you're not using them, they power down, and there was no way to then wake up Bluetooth to make the app run. So what they've had to do is move over to the system that people are using around the world, where Google and Apple have come together and agreed this kind of software patch, as they call it. And what it means is that, yeah, these problems will be largely overcome. The difference is that the original app was collecting a lot of central data, and that's against all of Apple and Google's privacy policies. So, this app, people can be really assured nobody will have any details of yours at all unless you need to register for a test. And then, of course, you're dealing with the NHS, and the NHS has got, very, very robust privacy systems. Robin and Josh, you're already looking confused, so I'm not doing a good job in explaining it. Do you want to ask some questions?
I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, the way that it works, unless they've changed it from when I saw it originally in terms of the Apple and Google one, is that it basically keeps a kind of 14-day rolling list of every other device that it comes within a certain distance of. And then if you then kind of have to have a test or a positive test, you then basically kind of select that you've had that, and then I think it can then push out everything to every device within the last 14 days. Is that right? I understood that
Yes,
right?
pretty much. The app is actually going to do a whole range of things. It's going to explain the symptoms to you so that you can recognize when you've got COVID. It's going to tell you the latest data in your postcode area. And that's something that we've wanted for such a long time, to know whether there's cases locally and to be able to track, are they going up and are they going down? It makes it very easy for you to, if you get alerted, to say that you've been in contact and you need to isolate, then it connects you to another stream of advice. But critically, if you just wake up with symptoms, it's going to help you to book a test, go through the test, give you the tips, and effectively sort of electronically hold your hand. Of course, there's lots of human beings connected to the system. The NHS responders will be helping. It won't be replacing people going, people phoning you up from the national team to say you've been in contact with somebody. But I think it's just really, really helpful, if it works, and it's being, this is the whole point, to tweak it to make sure that it does work. Then, yes, if you've been in contact with anybody who 2 meters close to you or less, so anybody up to 2 meters away from you for 15 minutes, if they suddenly report within 14 days that they have virus symptoms and the virus is confirmed by testing, you will then automatically be told, advised to isolate, and supported to get a test. And once you start to isolate, it will count down for you. So you're going to know exactly which day you're on, how many days you've got left, and so on and so forth. So it's actually, it sounds, I haven't seen it yet. I'm going to be able to have first sight of it next week with a group of other people, which is exciting in itself. We're going to move on now because, as I say, we're going to have a 5-minute update every show for the next month or so. For anybody who's wondering how to get involved, you don't have to do anything. If you live in Newham, you will get a letter come through your letterbox and it will give you a unique code to be able to download the app. And that code will be unique to you so that you can't pass it on to somebody else. But if you live outside of Newham, you can still help us to feedback by telling us what's your favourite app, what's your least favourite app, what makes it your favourite app, what do you like doing with it, what do you always find problematic about apps, particularly if you've got some kind of impairment related access need, because we have to make sure that it works for everybody. And at the same point, we're going to go, well, what is an app? Are we even clear? So I think on Monday, we're going to go back to some basics, start talking about some apps. We're going to have app developers coming on. We're going to talk about how we can use different apps in the arts and hopefully talk to a couple of artists who've made their own apps as an art project. This is, as we have said all along, our digital year, whether we chose to make it a digital year or not. And I think it's going to be really exciting. We have, in fact, have plans to develop our own COVID app for anybody who remembers Charlie and the Sea Monsters, which we showed, I think, on Monday, either on Monday or last week, but I think it was Monday.
No,
It's
it was
been
this week.
hot week. Yes, this Monday we showed Charlie and the Sea Monsters. That is a colouring book that you can download and print and colour, but we really want to make it into a colouring book app as well. So hopefully we'll learn something about that. In the meantime, on a technology theme still, our associate drama company ACT UP, who have been making work over Zoom every week since lockdown begun, have sent us this film to show, which talks about all about their experiences of Zoom, which is something that, like most of us, they had never come across before lockdown. So, our Zoom experience with ACT UP Newham.
We had been working on Zoom for 20 weeks. We been thinking what that means to us.
What I like about Zoom is to see each other and to stay safe, but not to be catching coronavirus.
Zoom is better. I like having picture.
I can see the background on where people live, so I can see them live.
Well, all I don't like about Zoom is that I've missed seeing all of you.
It's not very accessible when I have to find the button with my mouse.
I like Zoom more.
My favorite bit is that we are making a lot of little that the coronavirus and how it affects disabled people.
And yet again, another really impressive film from ACT UP Newham. I thought it was interesting what Jade was saying. You know, Jade mostly uses a power wheelchair, and as a wheelchair user myself, I know that quite often we never see in anybody else's homes because they're not really accessible enough to us, particularly in the city where you've maybe got to climb up physically 3 flights of stairs. You know, it's not just a kind of issue of getting over the threshold. So That's certainly something that I found interesting. I've also found it really interesting doing meetings where nobody can see you're in a wheelchair. And I think the level of unconscious bias that I must face usually just hadn't hit me because people just speak to you differently. Um, and it's just a sad fact. It makes no difference to me whether I'm sitting down, and if we're all sitting down, whether I've brought my own chair. But apparently, it does make a difference to other people. So I found it a great leveler. And also, as somebody who can't easily get out because I need support and I can't use public transport, I think that being able to just parachute yourself into a gathering, I've really enjoyed the Survivors Poetry lockdown lounges. And they've always had people from mainland Europe and from North America joining in. I wouldn't be able to get to their real life activities in Covent Garden, but certainly those poets wouldn't usually be joining in because they're not even in the UK. I mean, you've had more limited experience of Zoom, Julie, haven't you? But I know, Robin, you've been teaching over Zoom almost from the start. Was that a sort of huge kind of change?
Um, yes, to be honest. I mean, I think that I mean, Josh can come in a minute. I mean, before lockdown, I'd only been a recipient of a Zoom meeting or a participant of a Zoom meeting. Um, Whereas, come the middle of April, we suddenly became presenters and deliverers and hosts of Zoom meetings 4 times a week as a minimum, and then running. Went as far as we ran fun evenings with music and quizzes and all sorts of things. So, for me, it's very different actually doing it and finding other ways. I think interesting ways of getting people to engage who otherwise wouldn't, but that not always being the case. I mean, I went to one big Swim England meeting which had like 340 Zoomers
I didn't know
on
that
it.
was possible. I thought
Oh
100.
yeah, no, on the big system, the professional level, the full level, yeah, they can have. I mean, I don't know what the upper limit is, but well in the hundreds. Yeah, there's a lot, and it's and yet strangely, still only about 8 people spoke because when you can, so the bigger meetings generally your cameras are off to save processing power for the system, and then when people can't be seen to not be talking, they can get away with not talking. So actually, that the visual element of it makes that a real big difference.
Yeah, I mean, we've been in the kind of the same things that Robin's been in terms of kind of the coaching things, but I've used it a lot for kind of the university work and all of the conferences and things that were supposed to be happening that all of a sudden weren't. Some of them were kind of the ones based in Sheffield that I would have gone to anyway. But the fact that it was on Zoom made it much more accessible because it meant it wasn't in the city centre where parking, if you have a space and there's a few disabled spaces, then you're grand because it's right outside. If you can't, then the next space is at the bottom of a hill that's a little bit like Everest. So you're kind of a little bit out of luck. Because you can't just run up the stairs. You have to do the really long route and it's a bit of a pain. But also there's been loads of things that I've been able to go to. There's seminars that they've put on that were hosted from different places all over the world. There was a massive conference that was due to take place in Tokyo, which, I wouldn't have gone to because I wouldn't have flown to Tokyo. Mainly because it isn't a conference that is particularly relevant for what I'm doing, but there was kind of 2 or 3 talks that were really interesting and relevant. So I went to that conference for free because it was all online and managed to kind of get those talks and get those contacts. Whereas if there had been no COVID, I would have missed out on that. Because I wouldn't have flown to Tokyo for 3 meetings.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's no harm in looking on the bright side. And in fact, given that it's going to be a long while before we get back to pre-normal, I think it's essential. We took our program online on the 10th of March in more usual times, as well as our artistic program. We run a creative development outreach program through the year, which we call our clubs program. Our clubs are free to any disabled person who can get to East London with anybody they want to bring with them, disabled or not. And they cover on different days craft, drawing and painting, music, poetry, dance, photography, and filmmaking, and so on. What I'm going to do next is just put on a short video that's going to tell you a bit more about what we've got on offer on the website, and in particular how it links to the activities that we would usually be running on Friday. I want to say in real life, but this is real life at the moment. Together 2012 is running a Join In From Home programme from our website together2012.org.uk. Click on the link at the top of the page, Join In From Home, to go straight to the main page where you have a wide range of accessible, inclusive creative activities, mostly using things that you would already have at home. At the top of the page and throughout the pages, you will also see videos in British Sign Language to translate the site for deaf people. These videos can also be useful if you have difficulties reading and you simply want to hear more of the content. The Join In From Home programme is based on the activities that we would usually be running in East London. So, for example, we have an arts club which usually operates on a Tuesday with craft-based activities and on a Friday morning for drawing and painting. Here you can join in with the arts club's Hands project and celebrate your uniqueness and membership of the human race. There are full instructions on the linked page here. But essentially, we invite you to draw around your hand on a piece of card. It could be an old cereal packet. Cut the shape out, turn it over, and decorate it with anything you would like to do. It could be paints, crayons, glitter, collage, beads, leaves, anything you can think of. Photograph your hand or hands and send it to us at tv@together2012.org.uk. We'll add it to our video installation and share it on social media. Our music club usually meets on the first Friday of each month. We have an open mic session and we invite everybody to play along with percussion instruments. So here you can learn how to make your own percussion instruments from recycled materials. And you can also join in a percussion workshop from last summer in terms of carnival percussion. So these three instruments are used most often in carnival. We have a shaker and a go-go and a hand drum. So this is how to make a recycled shaker, a recycled go-go, and a recycled hand drum. You can also, if you're technically minded, make your own tactile sound instrument. This does require a few simple electronics, but is a very interesting and exciting project as part of our Vibrafusion ongoing work. You can also listen with Together. We have Spotify playlists created by Robin Surgener, also known as our TV presenter Angry Fish, and we also have 2 classical music playlists from Bournemouth Symphony Orchestra, including one that's uniquely suited to people who are feeling very unwell. And I'm pleased to say we've had some artwork sent in. So let me try and get this on the screen. These first 2, I'll get them up one at a time, are by Paiza Malik. And Paiza is, I think, the oldest member of ACT UP Newham. So we've often seen her on the show. And this is, I think, a felt tip drawing. It's a still life of flowers and leaves in a vase for anybody who can't see it. We're just going to solo it for a minute so we can see it nice and big. So beautiful colours, predominantly oranges, browns, purples, reds. Really lovely piece of work. Thank you for that, Pizer. And I'm going to solo this one. And this is a beautiful drawing in felt tip. It's a shot from above of a lady sitting in a wheelchair at a table drawing, and there's a river going past and some pine trees. It's like she's on a decking. It actually reminds me of a field trip that we took, and we were talking about only the other day when we were talking about shanties. So I think last week we were talking about a field trip the art club took to Cody Dock, and I actually remember Pizer sitting at a table painting next to the River Lee. So it really reminds me of that as well. And I think it's also an indication of the quality you can get with something as simple as felt tip. Now, these are from one of our professional members, Tracy Vidal. And again, I'm going to try and solo this for a minute. This is, well, Tracy describes it as an allegorical figure representing faith. It's a woman of color. She's an angel. She has a pink dress and what look like pink ballet slippers. It's against a blue background, and she has her hands clasped together, and it's got a real
With white wings.
with white wings. Sorry. Yes, what other color would angels wings be? I don't know, but let's move swiftly
It's
on.
funny though. I thought that was that was one of those things that struck me as well. Actually, because whether there was an incongruity in there, but then if they were a different color, people might put a different reflection on what they're seeing.
At all. I was just thinking, oh, were angels' wings gold, or are they silver, or are they pink, or are they white? But it really stands out against the blue background. Well, now this next one, also from Tracy, and also just bear with me. So this is a work in progress, and it is described as Buffy and Bunny remembering pre-lockdown hugs and fist pumps. So this is a black and white drawing of two ladies standing next to each other in pinafore dresses, Julie. There's flowers in the background. The carpet is diamond patterned, and there's also a framed drawing on the wall with, I think the flowers are actually wallpaper. I'm perhaps not, with my eyesight, the best person always to give the audio description.
No, I think that was pretty accurate.
Good. So we now come on to something for the weekend where we recommend things for you to do online and offline. Usually, but not always, arts based or associated activities such as gaming. Who wants to go first with one of their recommendations? All of these. Okay, so we'll come to Robin in a minute, but all of these recommendations will be on our highlights and links page. Our highlights and links page is under the main Together TV Unlocked menu. So that's where you'll find everything we're mentioning today. You'll also be able to take a much closer look at the paintings we've shown and just watch Update again and the Zoom video from Act Up Newham. Okay, Robin, what have you got?
I'm just excited today. Weather's a bit cooler, and I'm just full of beans. So I've only got a couple of things. The first one is an arts-based one actually, which is very good for us. It's a series of short films that are on BBC iPlayer called. The whole series, I think, is called Filmed in Lockdown. And then the link I've put on to sort of introduce it as the first film is a film called Her and Her, which is about, without giving the game away, two women who begin to cohabitate and how their relationship progresses. but then there's a whole series of other, there's a sort of series of numbers of short films, all based around filmed in lockdown. So just I thought it was really interesting, and from the perspective of an organ as a golly, sorry, us as an organization supporting people who want to be making films, looking at their sort of 11 and 13-minute long films, which is an interesting length, I think, really. And it's something you might think that, well, actually, you can say a lot more in 13 minutes, maybe. So that's there, and the link's there. And then the second one is a link to the UK Black Pride, which is this Sunday. So it's a one-day event. It's in its 15th year, if my memory serves me correctly. I was looking at the website, and it talks about like the first event involved a bus load of black lesbians going to Margate, or I think it was, and we, and kind of that experience, and no one ever thought that it would, continue in a way and grow that it has, and now and it is online on Sunday afternoon. So the link that I've put up is actually to the UK Black Pride website, and they will be hosting all the events.
Yeah, and it's always a terrific event. One of my other roles is as co-chair of Regard, which is the national LGBTQI plus disabled people's organisation. So we try to go, to support it and to hand out a bit of literature and so on. The last few years, it's been in Vauxhall. What I've found is it's always much, much more accessible than the more expensive formal prides. Not because they've got the money for anything like Blue Badge parking, but just because it is, despite that, actually possible to park in a side street, get your wheelchair out, and get into the space, which is not overly large. I think last year they moved up to Hackney. I wasn't able to go to that. I think Julie was having surgery. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to pop in on that one. Do you have anything you'd like to offer up for us next, Julie?
Yeah, I think this weekend I'm going to be trying to put together a series of screenshots for Monday's show, just to show how creative you can be with a screenshot. I think it's a natural progression. It does follow on. So while I'm doing that, I'm going to be listening to my radio. I tend to listen to BBC Sounds because that has a whole range of past radio shows and current ones. But also, I'm going to listen to BBC Sport because it's Formula One in Spain. So I really want to hear that. And the coverage on Channel 4 is the highlights, but I do quite like listening to the show itself. I find it quite exciting. But I do think I think it was Tracy a few weeks ago, just reminded us very gently that there's a lot on the radio and it is worth exploring.
Yeah, and BBC Sounds is quite random, isn't it, with what it comes up with from past shows. You can get something that's really quite old and then something that's quite new. I only know this, I'm not a great radio person, but Julie's cats like it. So while they're living in my office for the duration, we put them on for the cats. What can I say? So I've got a number of recommendations before we come to Josh and back to Julie. The first thing is there is a wonderful online, but also with live components, show the festival this weekend in our very own Newham, also starting today, running till Sunday. It's dance based and it's organised by a company called Certain Blacks, which is based in Newham and run by an artist called Clive Little. We've worked quite closely with Certain Blacks in the past, and we're looking forward to doing so in the future. This is a dance-based program, and it's all being streamed. So the performances, many of them will be live from different places around the borough, and it will be streamed. So that is just at Newham Unlocked Festival. We will be putting that link up. Last week, we talked about all of the things that had been opened that day for Fringe Central for artists. And that's being run by the Edinburgh Fringe, where they'd opened a virtual Fringe Centre with a huge kind of professional development programme for artists. But of course, the other thing they are doing is an online Fringe festival. And what they say is digital fringe listings are now live as part of our efforts to continue supporting fringe artists. We've uploaded hundreds of listings for live streams and unique digital performances taking place this August. So, any artist or company who might have been at the fringe, you can find other pieces of their work, different films and different shows. Some of that will be free, some of that will be paid for, but it's a great place to find everything under one roof. And finally, and this is with a thank you to Janet and Jemima Mays, the 2020 Sensory Arts Festival, also running from today till Sunday. It explores the theme of the senses across a wide range of disciplines, including moving image, theatre, music, fine art, and food. Each day, we will showcase a variety of performances, workshops, and interactive events that examine the festival, that examine the senses. You can see how long a week it's been. It's free. It's everything is captioned and it has BSL and it has audio description. It's organized by a group called Touch Base Care. And that's a community group that works holistically with adults and young people, particularly those who've got neurodiversity and sensory impairments. But it looks like a lovely festival for everybody. There's different events you can sign up for online. So that's a pretty great selection. Josh, finally, what have you got for us?
So I had a few different kind of online arts things for this weekend. The first one that runs from today until Sunday is the UCLA Film Fest, which is put together by the film students of UCLA. They would normally have an in-person film festival to showcase their work. Obviously, that's kind of not gone to plan this year. So they're doing it online and they're showcasing a number of films throughout the weekend. And then there are kind of industry panels, one on Saturday and one on Sunday, one on kind of independent filmmaking. And then one is leveraging film festival experience to launch your career. So even though that might not be kind of super relevant to you in terms of that panel, I think it's similar to what you were talking about with the fringe stuff. It's just an opportunity to kind of learn and develop professionally, as well as also just kind of experiencing the creative side of the festival. So that's online. I mean, it is based in LA, so I think it runs from 1 a.m. to 8 a.m. In the UK time. So if you're in for a late night, or if you live in a different time zone, that will work. The other one is something called Creative Flow, a mindfulness art workshop, which is a series of workshops, the final one, or the fourth one, being on Sunday, which is called Workshop for Wonder, an Embodied Movement and Writing Workshop, which sounds really interesting. So that's 7 till 9 British Summer Time, I believe. It's all in EDT, so I'm trying to convert it. So if I get the times wrong, that's my fault.
I was just going to say, and interestingly, that fits in with the poem theme for this week for the Pop-Up Poetry Club, because that's movement, isn't it?
Yeah, and it sounds really repetitive about
Well
around.
remembered, Robin, because so for anybody who didn't watch the show on Wednesday, we encourage you to join in with the Pop-Up Poetry Club. Send us your poems, or indeed films of you reading your poems, of your poems about movement, and we will put them on the show next Wednesday. So thanks for that reminder, but let's get back to Josh to finish.
Yeah, both of those are free, which is great. And then the final one is a paid one. It's kind of $15, which I think is about £12, or £10, something around that. But it is on Saturday afternoon, and it is a kind of live, interactive, virtual tour of the Louvre, with a actual kind of Louvre accredited tour guide, kind of taking you, round, and there's videos and photos, and kind of an interactive chat and Q&A. So it lasts for an hour, and it is, I'll double check. It is 11 till 12 EDT, which I think is
That'll be
3 till 4 British summertime. So it's on Saturday, but then it also repeats. It's on the 22nd and the 29th of August as well. So if you can't make this one, it is kind of repeated over the next few weeks.
I do think that's really cool because, of course, in an ideal world, one would rather be in the Louvre. And then I start thinking about all the hassles of traveling on Eurostar as a wheelchair user and the fact that all you can see is other people's backsides when you're in the art gallery. And I think I could really go with this, and I actually, although, yeah, £12 to go to Paris and
yeah,
spend
yeah.
an
I mean,
Louvre,
just,
that seems
I
like
mean,
quite a good deal if you've
it-
got it.
in olden times, we went to the Louvre, and actually we had a really good experience. And in fact, so much so that there was like a mile queue halfway around the Louvre to get in, and then to see the Mona Lisa. They just wheeled us straight to the front, and they even put us in front of the. You can't go in front of this barrier, so we could marvel at the Mona Lisa. So no, but again, I think it's one of those
That's what
places.
happens when you're a Paralympian, Robin. And
Oh, I
basically,
don't know. I was the most popular when we went to kind of theme parks at school. I had to go on the same rides over and over again to get to skip the queue.
yes, we won't explore that too much further today. It's nice to know that sometimes special treatment doesn't look like harassment and abuse. That's all I'm going to say. We always finish on a Friday with some live music from Robin if we can't persuade anybody else. But of course, we always love to hear Robin, also known as Angry Fish. So we're just going to start winding up towards that or winding down. No, I think we'll be winding up to the climax of the performance, but also talking about next week. As we've just said, we really encourage you to send us your poems or recordings of you and your poems, film or audio. It can be on the subject of home, or together, which is one of our join in from home activities. It can be on the subject of movement, which is next week's theme. But actually, we're always interested in any poems, any photographs, any paintings. We would love to show them on the show and share them with our audiences. What else did you guys want to add?
Um, just thinking about the change in the weather, excuse me, and it's still actually quite hot in places. Just to remember, do drink lots of fluids, and do stay safe over the weekend. Whatever you choose to do, do remember social distancing and look after ourselves. I think because at the moment we need to do that.
I think that's very wise. And in fact, one of the reasons we're coughing is we've got the windows open to try and cool the house down, and it's blowing in all sorts of dust and stuff from the motorway. But that is East London life.
Yeah, I saw it in terms of the weather changing. I saw a really interesting article the other day that there's evidence that kind of asthma symptoms and things get worse in the run up to thunderstorms. Because of kind of how the pressure in the air changes and things. So if you do have kind of asthma and breathing issues, if they are getting worse,
oh, that's us
find
too.
your umbrella, because you may want to have a thunderstorm on the way. I thought that was really interesting.
I think the other,
we're hoping, but all we get is the odd bang, and then it all disappears again. All we do is cough, it bangs, and it's gone.
I think the just something. I mean, I find electrical storms fascinating. I just love them, and the louder they are, the more exciting they are. But also do remember they're uniquely dangerous. And I'm not trying to be a downer at the end of the show, but 2 people were struck by lightning in Wales, and are, gone out for a walk on Brecon Beacons and don't exist. Yeah, or what, somewhere, Penny. Anyway, wherever it was. But I mean, just saying, it's lovely, and we think after all that lovely weather, go dance in the rain, but don't do it when there's lightning going on.
No, stay indoors. as we were talking about on Monday, take some photographs from inside. So we're going to hand over, I think, to Robin to play us out. We just wanted to say one more thing, which is a very happy 60th birthday to our writer in residence, Penny Pepper from Hastings. I'm in a way delighted to say that Penny can't be with us today because she has been so busy with her new book, with publishers, with press interest around her birthday. But we really hope to welcome her back onto the show soon, hopefully on Wednesday. But in the meantime, Penny, this song is for you. Might not be the most suitable or appropriate because it's not a happy birthday and it's the one Robin was going to play anyway, but consider it dedicated.
Well, if I'd realised I could possibly have done Happy Birthday, but you know, it's one of those songs.
Belatedly the next time. Well, that's off coming on. But yes, the next time Penny's live. So goodbye from us, everybody. See you next week. Have a great weekend.
Have a good weekend.
Okay, everybody, this song is called I Was. I was talking to the man just the other day. He said, boy, you got a lot of things to say. I was talking to the man just the other night. He said, boy, you got some issues, you could start a fight. And I said, hey, 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 be careful what you wish for today. And I said, hey, 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 be careful what you wish for today. I was talking to the man, I was trying to find exactly what was going on in his mind. Was hoping to find that his thoughts reflect our collective wisdom and our intellect. But what I found chilled me to the bone. He had the mind of a killer and a heart of stone. He was the calling card of a monolith, of a right-wing government that's taking the mick. And I said, hey, 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 be careful what you wish for today. And I said, hey, 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 yeah, hey, 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 be careful what you wish for today. Slipping into dreaming, imagination working hard. Had a vision of my country when everything went bad. I've been dreaming of a place where everybody's equal. So I took another snooze. I need to see the sequel, cause it seems that you don't know who you've been talking to, and who they're gonna tell, and what they're gonna do. He's a secret policeman with a hidden agenda, and he's gonna make sure you never feel your potential. He's a secret policeman with a hidden agenda, and he's gonna make sure you never feel your potential. He's a secret policeman with a hidden agenda, and he's gonna make sure you never feel your potential. When I came back to my senses, I began to understand I was the victim of a phony. I'd been talking to the hand. So now when I am talking, I talk to those who care, and not the faceless mouthpiece of whom I now despair. I was talking to my people, I have just one thing to say: be true to who you fight for, in the end we'll have our day. I was talking to my people, I have just one thing to say: be true to what you fight for, in the end we'll have our day. I was talking to my people, I have just one thing to say: be true to what you fight for, in the end we'll have our day. Our day. Thank you and good afternoon. Have a great weekend. Bye from Together Unlocked.